What's up everyone? Welcome or welcome back to the Marketing Nomad YouTube channel. I am the Marketing Nomad. Alrighty, so let me tell you something that I tried recently and it has worked out so well for me, and I wanted to share with you in case that gives you a good starting point to see how it could work out for you as well. But before we get into what I'm talking about, let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about why I needed that to begin with, all right? Okay, so there are certain aspects of my life where my mind tends to go into overdrive to protect me, all right? And just before I kind of enter new phases for those aspects of my life, or sometimes even just randomly, if a change happens in those aspects of my life, my mind automatically goes to the worst case scenarios, all right? It just starts listing out what could possibly go horribly wrong in those aspects of my life. And it is very specific. There are very specific aspects of my life that I tend to, I guess you could call it spiral, or I tend to, my mind tends to go over the worst case scenarios, all right? And it's quite understandable why my mind does that. I have been through very, very traumatic experiences in those aspects of my life. And so my mind, because of past experiences, because that's the narrative that it carries at this point, it tries to protect me. It tries to make sure that I am completely okay, or I am emotionally, mentally, physically prepped for the worst case situations. There was a point in my life where I would feel very frustrated that all of these worst case scenarios were coming up in my mind. There was also a point where I wished and wished and wished so much that my brain would not do that. But I think that my relationship with these thoughts are a lot healthier today. Today I understand that, okay, well, I have been through very, very difficult experiences and I need to honor that. And this is my mind protecting me based on what it has been through, based on past experiences. It has not yet encountered experiences that are safe. It has not yet encountered experiences that contrast to what I've been through. So it's understandable that it tries to step in to protect me. My mind loves me. It's coming in to protect me. All right. So this is the kind of relationship that I have with those thoughts today. And for a while, I would allow these thoughts to just be in my mind. Like if they were coming up to the surface, there would be one line of thought going, okay, we're just going to allow these thoughts to come up to the surface because this is there to protect us, and my mind needs to spiral before it feels comfortable in the situation that it is in, until it gets more information of safe experiences. This is how it's going to be, and we're okay with that. I wouldn't necessarily spiral, as in I would not be emotionally attached to all of these thoughts that were coming up to the surface, but at the same time I would recognize that it is what my mind is doing to protect me at that point in time. All right, so it was I would say it was a bit difficult, yes, because all of these thoughts would still come up to the surface, and you know, as much as you want to emotionally detach from them, sometimes the fear comes in, right? Okay, what if that actually does happen, or what if my mind is actually right this time? And so I guess there was this thought process in my mind that maybe this way of allowing the thoughts to just be is not necessarily working out for me. And again, I do want to say that this is my own personal experience. I hope that it is a starting point to see what works for you, but this is very specific to me, all right, to what is working for me at this point in time. I just want to put that out there. Okay, so so that's when I started to understand that, okay, my thought process about how I'm approaching this seems to be aligned, like allowing those thoughts to be and honoring my experiences that have led to these thoughts, and even giving myself the space and the time that I need in order to work through all of those difficult thoughts, or in order to maybe calm my mind down, in order for more experiences, more safe experiences to come in my spectrum of experiences so that my mind can slowly soften over time. So I feel like that thought process was aligned for me. However, I was still kind of emotionally attaching to these thoughts, and I began to feel like I was only thinking about the worst case situations or the worst case scenarios in these specific aspects of my life. And this random thought just came into my mind that don't you think you're leaning only to one side? Like the worst case scenarios, like yes, you are honoring your thoughts, absolutely, but isn't it not fair that you're only leaning to one side, which is the worst case scenarios? And it hit me. I was like, yeah, that's true. That's true. If I'm going to think about worst case scenarios, why don't I also start thinking about best case scenarios, the complete flip side of it? And that's when I ran into a little bit of a trouble, all right? Because my mind goes into like this overdrive to protect me, thinking about the best case scenarios, even if I did try, sometimes it wouldn't come through. And other times, even if it did come through, the energy behind it was so weak that the worst case scenario would kind of overpower it, and that would remain, but I wouldn't be able to hold on to the best case scenario energy or the thoughts that were coming through with that. So again, like I said, this has been a journey for me. It has been a process. It didn't happen overnight. It's been like trying this out for a while and then tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it. That's how it usually goes with me. So I want to say that there has been a journey to this. So there will also most likely be a journey for you on your end to deal with thoughts like this as well. All right, so just wanted to put that out there. All right, so then I tried the best case scenario for a while, but it just wasn't holding as strongly as the worst case scenario. And of course, you know, the worst case scenario, because there are experiences to back that up, it was obviously more powerful than the best case scenarios that I was trying to think about. And I felt that I was forcing myself in a way to think of best case scenarios. All right, so then you know how I write everything down, right? We talked about it in another video. You can definitely check that out, but I tend to write everything down. So as I was writing all of my thoughts down, that okay, I'm really struggling to hold on to the best case scenario energy. Like it's really like those thoughts are just slipping by. I would think, or sometimes I wouldn't be able to visualize it, but I would think it or force myself to think it, but it would just not hold. It would just like slip away like water or something like that. Whereas the worst case scenarios, they would like be stamped on my mind, like permanently etched. And so as I was writing this down, it just occurred to me, why don't I write down my what if and my fears, or the worst case scenarios and the best case scenarios? Why don't I write it down as a mirror of each other? And so I got out a small notebook. Okay, it's really small. It's like not more than like the size of my hand. All right, very small notebook. And what I decided that on the left side, okay, on the left side, I am going to write the worst case scenario, and on this is the left, yes. All right, so I think it's mirrored when you see it, but on the left side, I am going to write the worst case scenario. And on the right side, I am going to write the best case scenario. However, given that I am struggling to hold on to the energy of best case scenario and I'm unable to believe it, I'm unable to hold that thought for too long, there's going to be a twist in how I approach writing both of these down, all right? So here's where my trick comes in. So the left side, I write it in black, and it is very important that I use black because for me, black pen, my black ink pen, represents my natural flow of thoughts. Anything that is in my mind at this point in time, it is coming through in black. For me, blue is more of my higher self or my intuition coming through, or even my spirit guides coming through. For me, green tells me, yes, best case scenario, happiness, you're doing well, amazing, this is something that's going well, or it indicates perfection. It indicates I guess, you know, how, like green, you know, it just, yes, thumbs up kind of energy. Yeah, that's how I see my green ink pen. And then red is when something's off, danger, no, very representative of the colors by themselves as well, all right? So I'm a very visual person, so I tend to use these colors even when I'm writing and I'm like brain dumping or I'm doing anything. There are specific colors that I use because they mean certain things to me, and it's a very subconscious connection that I make, all right? So on the left side, where I write the worst case scenario, it is genuinely something that I'm fearing at this point in time, right? I feel that in me. I feel those thoughts coming up to the surface. So I always start my sentences with, I'm afraid. All right. And I just start writing that down. And whatever it is that I'm feeling about that situation at that point in time, I write it down. I don't judge myself, and I just write it down. And I write it down with a black pen. So that is on the left side. Now on the right side, I counter that with my green color pen, and I write what if, and I start writing all the best case scenarios. So it's not necessarily that I am saying this is going to happen or that is going to happen. No, I am allowing space for a possibility that it could be that. All right. So it's for me to, especially when, we listen to a lot of people talking about manifestation. They say write as if you are living it in the present moment. But sometimes when you have been through very difficult experiences in the past, it might, like, even though you may write it, you won't be able to feel it just yet. It's difficult for you to feel it. So for me, my in-between phase, and we've talked about this in another video as well, my in-between phase is holding space for that energy, just holding space, not necessarily believing it at that point in time, but holding space for it. So the way that I hold space for the best case scenario for me is to just write what if, and then write that all down. Now, another trick that I use in this book of mine, I still don't know what to call it, but for now, I'm just calling it the I'm Afraid What If book, all right? But maybe at some point, I will come up with a better name for it. But this one is I'm Afraid on the left side, and it is only like one page, because it's a small book, right? One page is reserved for one line of thought. If I have a second line of thought and I'm afraid, then it goes to another page. All right, that's one more trick that I use. And the left and the right will always be mirrors of each other. So if I have a second thought, I will flip to another page, and then I will start writing on that. And then the right side for that will be the mirror for that line of thought. So I don't have two lines of thought in one page. It's just one line of thought, and I write down all of my fears regarding that. And then on the right side, I write with a green pen what if, and then I write all of the best case scenarios. And let me tell you what has changed since then. First off, writing everything down, it kind of takes that mental load off of my mind and it puts it on paper. Second, I find that the moment the worst case scenario thoughts are on paper, there's something about me writing it as I'm afraid and then, putting that down. For me, in my mind, it's more of when it's in my mind, thinking of it as a worst case scenario, it feels like a very real possibility. However, because I'm writing it as I'm afraid, it becomes more of a fear. All right, so that's kind of the change in the narrative that has worked out so well for me. And now that it's a fear, but not me predicting the future or not my mind predicting the future, it kind of emotionally detaches me from it. It's like, oh, it's a fear. All right, well, we can handle that. Or it's a fear. Well, we're going to honor that. It's not reality, it's not prediction. All right, so that has shifted things between what happens in my mind to what goes on the paper. So it's very important to start with I'm afraid, because now you're converting that thought that you have in your mind that feels very, very real. You're converting it into a fear. You're recognizing it for what it is, which is a fear. All right. And then the best case scenario, writing what if, actually makes me feel like I can hold space for it. Because if I were to believe that it is going to happen, I'm not there yet. I don't have enough experiences to make me safe enough to believe that. And there's this sense of fear that I don't want to let myself down, or I need to be constantly protecting myself. And I'm still not there yet, and that's okay. All right. But just thinking about what if, I feel like I am putting this aspirational energy, and that by itself has made me feel a lot more motivated, rather than forcing myself to believe that it is going to be the best case scenario. No, it's just what if. The word if makes it feel a little bit more arbitrary, so much so that I'm able to hold space for it. It's not something that is very tangible and around me and forcing me to believe it at this point in time. So the way that I word this is very important, especially for me, and I've found that it works really, really well. I'm afraid and what if. All right. So I'm afraid, you just write down, everything that you are afraid of, that in that particular line of thought, as much detail as possible for that particular line of thought. And then what if, counter everything that you've written in what if, because if you are going to go for the worst case scenario, you might as well put in the best case scenario as well. All right. And I found, and this is so interesting, I found that I actually become very neutral with that particular aspect. Like all I have to do is just write it down. Maybe me kind of tapping into the extreme energies just puts me in balance and puts me in center. It could also be that I'm honoring my fears while also holding space for the future, and that also kind of centers me, balances me. But I feel so neutral about the situation. I'm not necessarily tapping deeper into my fear, but I'm also not getting carried away with the best case scenario. And I feel like it brings me more to the present, and it just allows me to focus on what is happening right now and what should be my next immediate step. So I guess it could also be that, it's in your mind, and once you put it on paper, your mind kind of feels like, okay, we no longer have to hold on to this. We're not stressing about making sure that we're remembering this, because it's there somewhere on a piece of paper, and we can always go back to it and look for it if it's there. So that might also be it. But I found that I have become so neutral about these aspects of my life, especially when I write it down. If I don't, then again, the loop kind of continues. I don't feel safe, I don't feel good, and then I'm not able to hold on to the best case scenario thoughts. So for me, I really think that this process has helped me so much. Like I said, it's made me feel very neutral, and I feel like that has been such a blessing for me, feeling neutral about a situation. I haven't felt that way in a very, very long time with these aspects of my life. And that to me, honestly, first off, blessing. Second, I feel a lot more healthier with respect to how I'm dealing with the situation on hand, because like I said, I'm not carried away with either extremes, and I'm able to focus on what is happening at that point in time. So this has worked out so well for me. Like I said, it's not even a big book. It's like the size of my hand. All right. And on the left side, we have, in writing in black, we have I'm afraid, and then I just start writing. And then on the right side, I have with green ink, because that signifies like thumbs up, go, even if you want to kind of think about it as like a color association, like we associate green with good, with amazing, like traffic light, go, right? So I write on my right side of the page in green, and it starts with what if, and then I write down the best case scenario for that, right? So it's not just necessarily thinking about like the worst case and the best case scenario, it's how you write it also that I feel has worked out really well for me. It's changed a lot of my thought processes. It's changed the way that I approach the situation, whether it's my thoughts or even just how I am showing up for that particular aspect, for myself as well, because I'm holding space for my fear. I'm also holding space for the best case scenario. And I feel like that's been a very healthy twist in how I'm approaching these aspects of my life, that I may not necessarily have enough experiences under my belt for me to feel safe just yet. But this is kind of an in-between, and I absolutely love that this has been working out for me. I wanted to share with you in case this is also something that you struggle with. Maybe this is something that you can try out. Like I said, it's not a big book, and one page for one line of thought. That's very, very important. Don't add too many details. Even if there's space at the bottom, just leave it there. Maybe you want to come back and write something later. That's okay. But that page is for that line of thought. Don't add too many, because again, it'll start getting cluttered in your mind. So one line of thought, and then one line of thought to counter that. So worst case and the best case scenario all in one book, and they're always mirrored. So anytime I open a page, there's always the worst case scenario that came through and the best case scenario that came through. All right. So this has worked out so well for me, and I really hope that maybe this gives you a starting point to observe and understand what works for you as well. Like I said, this is very, very specific to me, but I wanted to share it because this is something that I feel has really, really changed the way that I show up for certain aspects of my life that I have been through very, very difficult, very painful, and yes, even traumatic experiences that I'm still healing from. I'm still learning how to come into thriving mode from survival mode, and I feel like this has been a great help along the way for me. All right. So this is where I will leave you for today. I really hope that this video helped you in some way. If it did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single time I do upload a YouTube video. And until then, I never know how to end this. I probably should like script it and figure out how I want to end the video, but I'll be there tomorrow and I will catch you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.